After the First World War, the geopolitical map of the European continent until 1914 was entirely redrawn. The old empires collapse and the new independent states, based on the nationality principle, sprout in their place. These states adopt written constitutions that ensure the birth of democratic institutions. The only entity that does not seem to align with the rest of Europe is Russia. The empire of the Tsars collapses in the middle of the First World War. The revolutionary process developing on the inside would lead to the birth of a communist regime that takes the name of Soviet Union from 1922. The USSR identifies with an authoritarian regime in which power is in the hands of a small ruling group. As mentioned before, this appears to be the only exception in a substantially democratic post-war Europe. But the situation changes rapidly, and in the years between the two world wars, far-right authoritarian regimes spread out. The process is initiated by the Horthy regime that settles up in Hungary in 1919. Analogous experiences take place in Italy from 1922, in Portugal and Poland from 1926, in Yugoslavia from 1929, in Germany from 1933, in Austria and Bulgaria from 1934, in Greece from 1936, in Romania from 1938, and in Spain from 1939. All these regimes are characterized by an authoritarian and dictatorial way of ruling, but some of them also show peculiar traits. They're not only dictatorships, but totalitarian states. This term can be applied to the Italian fascism, the Soviet Stalinism, and the German Nazism. The typical features of the dictatorship can easily be found in these regimes: the outlawing of opposition parties, the abolition of the freedom of press, the abolition of the trade union freedom, the establishment of a coercive system against the political opponents, based on the use of political police and detention systems, such as penal expulsion from the country and concentration camps. Beyond these methods, the totalitarian regimes contain innovative features that make them unique. The main goal of a dictatorship is suppressing the political dissent, but a totalitarian regime is one in which the goal is shaping a new form of humankind, channeling people's behavior to transform the society in its entirety. The ultimate objective of this transformation is creating a society that acts as a single body. From this point of view, the totalitarian regime is a radical expression of the newborn mass society, because the functioning of these regimes entail the necessity to obtain consensus from the masses and to shape their behaviors. Which are the main elements that can be found in a totalitarian regime? The presence of a charismatic leader around whom a cult of personality is established. The deeds of the leader are praised as unerring, and his figure is worshipped, because his mission is to lead the society towards a new horizon. The leader puts himself in contact with the masses through a number of instruments and rituals. The public parades, the speeches transmitted through the mass media, and so on, aim at establishing a direct and immediate relationship between the leader and the people. The presence of the leader is thus constant and tangible. The presence of a precisely identifiable political ideology, full of radical and partly utopian elements that support the building of a new society based on totally renovated values. The political party is the instrument through which the management of the masses' ordinary life is shaped and organized. The party's officials overlap and often substitute those of the state, and the party itself deals with the main public functions. Strict control of the propaganda. The goal of a totalitarian regime is indeed not only suppressing dissent, but also gathering a widespread consensus. The control of the mass media is thus fundamental, particularly so for the new media, such as the radio and the cinema, that allow for reaching people's mind with more strength. These media are not only controlled through censorship, but also actively employed to praise the conquests and the improvements brought by the regime. Control of the educational system. In this case, the aim is not only to build consensus towards the regime, but also to accustom new generations to the totalitarian ideology. This generation will thus acquire the values of a new society in depth. Control of the artistic production. The whole idea is still that of convey the message of the official ideology with all possible means. Among the arts, perhaps the most exploited one is architecture. Through the new constructions and endeavors, it is possible to convey a direct and tangible image of the ideological program of the regime. Creation of collective rituals. Huge gatherings in which the speeches of the leader can be listened to, public ceremonies in which military parades are shown, gymnastic events, symbolic commemorations, and so on. The aim of these events is getting the mass actively involved to the symbolic moments of the public life. Creation of mass organizations that subset the society according to age, sex, work, and so on. The aim of these organizations is intervening in the masses' spare time to continue shaping the collective behaviors through forms of entertainment related to the sphere of society.